Hi guys, welcome to Jones Notes. We are going to start with the 8th grade Unit 7, which is our Forces in Motion unit. We're just going to take some Jones Notes. Feel free to pause and catch up. I'm hoping that this will help you. I'm going to write and explain just like we do in class with the smartboard. Let me know how you did. If you get these done, if you could shoot me an email and be honest and tell me how you think it went, so that I can make my next videos better. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so please do not judge me. But here we go. So forces. A force is defined as just a push or a pull. So forces are a push or a pull. What I mean by that is if you push or pull on any object, you are then applying a force. There are two types of forces that we really focus on. Those would be contact forces and non-contact forces. So we're going to make a little T-chart here. So for contact forces, that's when you are touching them. So this is where the forces are touching. Where non-contact forces would be non-touching objects, which we then would call a field. Okay, the word field is pretty important here. So for contact forces, we typically think of things like friction between the two objects that are touching, where for non-contact forces, we're talking about the fields, which are gravity, magnetism, electric fields. Okay, so those we're going to talk about more in depth here in a second. And then for friction, we typically think of three main types. The last one is drag, which is when things are moving in a fluid. So that would be like air or water. So this is when they are moving in a fluid, which we've talked about. So air or our good H2O, which is water. So what happens is with friction, you have static and kinetic. So static is when things are stationary, meaning that they are not moving. So stationary, sorry, this writing is so small. And then kinetic friction, which is where things are moving. So for example, if you have your notebook sitting on your table, that would be static friction because they're not moving. But as soon as I start to slide my notebook, then it converts to and changes into kinetic friction. So kinetic friction would be when one or both things are moving. So if you play soccer, it would be the soccer ball rolling across the field. That would be kinetic friction. So those are all different types of forces. For this lesson 1, we're going to call this, I'm going to get another color here. So this is going to be lesson 1 here. Okay, so lesson number 1 is this lesson. We also will start to talk about some of the things that I think are really fun with the forces unit. Would be Newton's laws. So Sir Isaac Newton was a British scientist, and he came up with the laws of motion. Okay, and there are 3 of them. So some of you from class, since these are review notes, you might remember the 3 laws, and I gave you little tips and tricks to remember them. But law number 1, we simplify into the law of inertia. Okay, inertia is that resistance to a change. So things like if you are running full speed ahead down your street, chasing after your dog, and all of a sudden you trip on a big giant boulder rock, then that would cause a change in motion, and you would then change your motion. So that was probably a horrible example. But anyways, I know a lot of you guys remember like the slow motion of if somebody jumps out of a plane, they're going to have to overcome inertia before they start moving in the downwards direction that gravity is pulling them. So that is the law of inertia. So that's law 1. Law number 2, I like to remember it as you multiply two things. So that's F equals M times A, which stands for force equals mass times acceleration. Okay, so what happens is if you have a heavier mass or a faster acceleration, you would obviously have to have a stronger force to pull it. So that's law 2. And then law number 3. And remember, I'm going over these kind of simply because these are just review notes, but you can always go back into your Jones notes from class this year to look at it a little bit more in depth, or that state test review packet would have a lot of information also. But law number 3 would be action slash reaction. So when we looked up Newton's cradle, and I showed you guys this demonstration in class, we had the Newton's cradle's marbles, and they were going back and forth. You guys can look up YouTube videos of that, or you guys might just remember it from class. But we remember that for every action, there is an equal, excuse me, an equal but opposite, getting ahead of myself, but opposite reaction. Okay, they are equal in force, but they are opposite in direction. Okay, so those are the 3 laws. If you remember in class, we did a Newton's Law poster that helped us with remembering these. Alright, I'm going to move on to net force, which is one of my favorites. It's a little bit more mathematical, so I'm going to flip the page. Feel free to pause the video if you need to catch up. As you guys know, I write pretty fast. I'm trying to be slow for this, but you know how it goes. So the next one would be net force. Okay, net force is the combination of all forces acting on an object. Okay, so when we talk about net force, we're just talking about if I had a box, and I know you guys get jealous of my beautiful drawings, but if I had a box and somebody was pushing on the box this way with 20 newtons of force, and I will say our unit of force is newtons, which you guys should remember, and we use a capital N to learn that. And then if somebody on this side is pushing with 15 newtons of force, we would then know that this would be what we would call an unbalanced force. Okay, it is not balanced, it's going to move. Okay, so there will be motion because of it. Our net force, we would then take the 20 and the 15, so I would do the 20 newtons minus the 15 newtons to then get that the box will move with 5 newtons, and it would be moving to the left. The reason why it's moving to the left is just because the 20 is stronger than the 15, so it's going to move 5 newtons that way. I think you guys probably remember this, but we're going to do another little T-chart to go over this. So we have what we call balanced forces. and we have what's called unbalanced forces. Okay, so balance is when the net force is equal to 0 newtons, where unbalanced, the net force, we would get an actual number, so a number larger than 0. So that could be 0.5 newtons, that could be 7 newtons, that could be 100 newtons. Okay, so any number would be an unbalanced force. What would happen is when we have a balanced force, an example of that would be if someone was pulling on a box instead of pushing with 10 newtons, and somebody on this side was pulling with 10 newtons, we know that that would be balanced. So what happens is there would be no motion as a result of that force, where with unbalanced, there will be motion caused, okay, in the direction that is stronger. Okay, so that would mean if I had 50 newtons versus only 20 newtons, then we would know that our net force would equal the 30 newtons to the right. Okay, the 30 newtons to the right. So that would be what we would call unbalanced. So I'm going to take a second and kind of cloud this section of notes, because that part is important. If you look back into your notebooks, you guys will find that we have other examples if you guys are still confused on this, but relatively speaking, this is content that you guys typically did very, very well on. So if you have any questions about this lesson, I'm going to keep uploading them. There are a total of 6 lessons for Unit 7, so each of them I'm just going to go over the main ideas and hope that that kind of helps. I know for my advanced kiddos, the next couple lessons are a little bit newer to you. We've gone over them a little bit, but I did want to kind of give you more definitions, like Jones note definitions and things like that. If you have questions about this, or you find that this is helpful, I would love feedback so that I can make these videos as user-friendly as possible. So please take these notes and respond to me. Let me know how you're doing. If you want to take this on in just like a brand new notebook that you have laying around, or if you want to take them on loose leaf, that works too. I will be uploading these videos as I get them done, so hang tight. I'm going to try to get all of Unit 7 done today. And then I'm going to go through the other units and upload them over spring break, so feel free to use them or write them down if you are bored. I hope you guys are hanging in there, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye!